When it comes to farming, one of the biggest decisions any grower faces is what to plant. The world of agriculture is filled with choices, but perhaps none is more fundamental than deciding between cash crops and food crops. Today, we'll dive deep into the heart of this topic: cash crops versus food crops. Which is more profitable? Join us as we break down the pros, cons, and profitability of each so you can make informed decisions for your agricultural journey. Let's start by understanding the basics. Food crops are those grown primarily for local consumption. Think of staples like rice, wheat, maize, potatoes, and vegetables. These are the crops that feed communities and sustain nations. On the other hand, cash crops are cultivated mainly for sale and profit, often in domestic or international markets. Examples include cotton, coffee, tobacco, sugarcane, cocoa, and oilseeds. While food crops keep our plates full, cash crops keep the wheels of commerce turning. But which of these options brings in more money for the farmer? To answer this, let's look at several key factors: market demand, input costs, risks, government policies, and long-term sustainability. First, market demand. Cash crops are often in high demand both locally and abroad. Products like coffee and cocoa command premium prices in international markets. For instance, a smallholder farmer in Africa who grows cocoa can earn significantly more per hectare than if they grew maize or cassava, provided global prices are favorable. Cotton, another classic cash crop, is a major export for countries like India and the United States. This high demand can mean higher profits if the timing and the market conditions are right. Food crops, by contrast, serve a guaranteed market. Everyone needs to eat. The demand for staple foods is relatively stable, regardless of global economic shifts. While the prices may not soar as high as for cash crops, they also don't tend to crash as dramatically. Growing food crops can provide steady, if sometimes modest, returns, and they often come with lower market volatility. Next, input costs. Cash crops generally require higher investments. They may need more expensive seeds, specialized fertilizers, pesticides, and sometimes advanced irrigation systems. Coffee, for example, takes years to mature and requires careful management of pests and diseases. Cotton farming demands substantial chemical inputs and water. These higher input costs can eat into profits, and if prices fall, farmers may struggle to break even. Food crops, on the other hand, can often be grown with fewer resources, especially in regions adapted to local staples. Traditional grains, legumes, and vegetables sometimes need less fertilizer and fewer pesticides, particularly when grown using indigenous methods or organic practices. This means lower upfront costs and less financial risk if yields are poor or market prices dip. Then there's the factor of risk. Cash crops are often more vulnerable to fluctuations in the global market. Prices can swing wildly due to factors like international politics, changes in consumer trends, or even weather events in faraway countries. A bumper harvest in one part of the world can flood the market and drive prices down everywhere. Farmers who rely heavily on a single cash crop can find themselves exposed to significant risk. Food crops, while not immune to market forces, tend to be less affected by these global swings. Since they're usually marketed locally or regionally, and because food is a necessity, prices are more stable. Furthermore, if a farmer grows a variety of food crops, they can spread their risk. If one crop fails, another might thrive. Government policies also play a big role. Many governments encourage the cultivation of food crops to ensure food security. They may offer subsidies, guaranteed minimum prices, or support for irrigation and storage infrastructure. These policies can make food crop farming more attractive and less risky. Cash crops, while sometimes subsidized, are often more exposed to the vagaries of international trade agreements, tariffs, and export restrictions. Now, let's talk about long-term sustainability. Food crops, especially when grown using sustainable practices, can help maintain soil health and support local ecosystems. Crop rotation and intercropping with food crops can prevent soil depletion and reduce the need for chemical inputs. On the other hand, some cash crops, such as cotton or tobacco, are notorious for exhausting soil nutrients and requiring heavy chemical use, which can degrade land over time. This can lead to long-term productivity losses, unless managed carefully. But what about the numbers? Let's consider a typical scenario. A farmer with 1 hectare of land could grow rice, a staple food crop, and expect a net profit of $300 to $500 per season, depending on yields and input costs. If the same land is used to grow cotton, the potential profit might be $700 to $1,000, sometimes more in good years. However, if cotton prices fall or pests destroy the crop, losses can be severe. With rice, the profit may be lower, but the risk is often better managed. Another angle is diversification. Many successful farmers grow a mix of cash and food crops. This strategy allows them to enjoy the higher earning potential of cash crops while ensuring food security and stability with food crops. For example, a farmer may grow maize for family consumption and sell surplus at the local market, while dedicating another portion of land to sunflowers or groundnuts for cash sales. It's also important to consider the community impact. Food crops support local food security, helping to reduce hunger and malnutrition. They often require more labor, creating jobs in rural areas. Cash crops, while lucrative, can sometimes lead to food shortages if too much land is devoted to non-edible crops, especially in regions where food imports are expensive or unreliable. In summary, the question of profitability between cash crops and food crops doesn't have a one-size-fits-all answer. Cash crops can offer higher profits, but come with higher risks and input costs. Food crops are generally less risky and more stable, but may offer smaller returns. The best choice depends on individual circumstances, local climate, market access, available resources, government support, and the farmer's own goals. For many, a balanced approach, combining both cash and food crops, offers the safest path to profitability and sustainability. It's about knowing your land, your market, and your capacity to manage risk. In the end, the smartest farmers are those who adapt, diversify, and keep learning. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of cash crops versus food crops. Whether you're a seasoned farmer or just starting out, remember that profitability isn't just about what you grow, but how you grow it. Stay tuned for more insights from Smart Agri Hub, your partner in smarter, more sustainable farming.